All right. Shalom, shalom, Akim. Shalom. Before I begin, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamshai, Bahashim, Kakodash. All right. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. All right, as well as peace and salutations unto the elect. Okay. Salakia, I just, as soon as I woke up, I just came to camp. The Spirit was on me to just come to camp straight away. Do something for the Lord. Okay, because I got a hell of a day ahead of me. But look, we still out here. All right, we still out here. Okay. But, we here every week preaching the downfall of America. Okay. All right, we're preaching the downfall of America. And we're fulfilling the name of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Okay. Salaki, bear with me, Brother Kishah. All right, there we go. Salaki, my hotspot wasn't working. Okay, so this is the book of Revelations, chapter 18. I'm gonna start at verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works, and the cup which you have filled to her double. Okay, so pretty much, talking about Babylon. Okay, and Babylon is gonna is gonna have double what she did unto us. Okay, the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native American. Okay. My hair is all messed up. Salakia, I don't look that presentable, but you ain't here to look at me. You're here to, listen to the word. Okay, so, right, Babylon is going to get filled double what she done unto us. Okay, now I'm going to start at verse 1 now. I'm going to jump down to 1. Revelation 18:1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightning with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and become the habitation of devils. Right, this place is gonna fall, man. This place is not gonna inhabit any human. Okay, this place isn't gonna be capable of inhabiting any human. All right, just like a desert. Okay, a desert, you can't really live in a desert. Or you can't live, ideally in a desert, there's no water. There's no, the sun is so hot. The temperatures are so hot or extreme. In the nighttime it gets so cold. The desert is a horrible place to be living in. But it says, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right, so you're not even going to be able to hunt for your food, man. Because all the things are unclean. All the things are going to be unclean in this world. They're all going to be unclean. So if you do end up killing a bird or finding food, it's going to be polluted. Okay? It's going to be polluted. So you're not going to be able to, live in America no more. Okay, Babylon the Great. All right, America is going to be destroyed. It's going to be finished. Okay. And yeah, it has its cool little spots. It has its beautiful spots that the Lord put. But ultimately, this place got to be destroyed, man. Okay. Everything is so out of touch here. Everything is so out of place here. Okay. You be catching hell, man. I haven't had a good night rest this whole week. I haven't had a good night rest this whole week, man. Okay? You know your body waking up. Okay, you're fucking tired. Your body waking up. And you still can't go to sleep. You know, you're like, fuck, man, I'm tired. Why can't my body go to sleep? You know? We can't be living like this all the fucking time. Alright, it says, verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Right? All nations have drunk of this Babylonian wine. Okay, all nations. Okay? Like, that's why you see, you know, all these nations where, you know, they're starting to, their women are starting to come over here and they're starting to get defiled, man. You know, women are no longer who they once were. Women have no reverence towards their husband. Okay, they should do some sneaky shit behind your back. You know, they'll do some sneaky shit behind your back and try to hide it from you. And when you find out, all of a sudden, you know, you feel bad, or they feel bad. You know, but they would have not told you if you didn't find out about it. You know, so this place gotta go. Okay, your woman no longer has reverence towards you. Okay, it's you catching hell in here, man. You know, every day. You know, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. Right, the kings of the earth, meaning the presidents or the high elites. Okay, because really, the top banking families is who has the power over here, man. You know, you look at the top banking families, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. Okay, when you look at their net worth, okay, it'll tell you like, oh, maybe 5-6 million. It'll tell you they somewhere. They won't tell you how rich they really is, man. You know, they don't want you to think about them and think that they have the power, man. You know, they be doing weird stuff. Okay, weird stuff. You know, eating, drinking. You know, the Bohemian Grove, or well, I think that's what they call it, the Bohemian Grove. You know, when Ryan Garcia was exposing them or whatever. You know. It says, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? The abundance of Babylon's delicacies, okay? Because Babylon is a consuming nation, okay? Babylon is a consuming nation. What do I mean by that? It means Babylon is the one who buys all these things, okay? All these things. Babylon is the one who buys the... You know, the whole reason why we couldn't, why the gas prices went up is because I believe it was Russia or somewhere. I believe it was Russia somewhere. You know, a major oil country. They eventually stopped doing business with America. And look at how skyrocketed the gas prices went. You know, and then you had these ignorant people thinking that Trump was gonna fix it all. He just made it worse. You know. Trump just made it worse. So, look, man, the only way out of here is not through Trump. It's not through your own side, man. It's through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the Lord. And that's what we're preaching. Okay, we're preaching that you got to turn into the Lord to be saved from this consumption, from this fire that's going to consume Babylon the Great, man. It says, verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, right? Talking about the 1/3, okay, of the elect. Okay, talking about that elect. Talking about the elect of the Asherah, man. You know, talking about that, those men who aren't gonna back down. You know, those men who aren't gonna take the C-hip, who aren't gonna, you know, bend yourself, okay? And there's gonna be very few, you know, there's gonna be very few Aquas who do the same. Okay, you're gonna have the elect man, okay, and the elect woman, okay, through the man. All right. Say I'm out here every day, or every week, in and out, in the same spot right here, preaching the gospel. And, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Lord willing, I be saved. Okay, the Lord can have it so that my woman gets saved too. The Lord ain't gonna put the spirit on my woman to take that chip. The Lord could have it so that, your kids, some brothers got kids, the kids may be saved through you. Your mother, your father, your dearest people, okay? And I only say women because I know a lot of brothers got women, and, you're very close with your woman. Okay, well, you're going to be very close with your woman, But ultimately, you have to forsake everything, for the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai to work on your own salvation. Okay, before you can even, before you can start talking about saving other people, you got to save yourself first. We're not saved yet. Okay, we're hoping to be saved. We're not saved yet. Okay, it says that ye be not partakers of her sins. Right, we're not trying to partake in the sins of Babylon. Okay, we're trying to be separate. We're trying to be we're trying to hold reverence towards the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai. We want to hold reverence towards the Lord. We don't want to be out here just doing whatever. Okay, we want to hold reverence towards the Lord, man. We want to do what the Lord asked of us to the best of our ability. Okay? And that ye receive not of her plagues, right? Because plagues are coming to this place. Plagues are coming to Babylon the Great. Plagues are already here, pretty much. The chemtrails, you see gas prices going up, a lot of brothers got to deal with, or maybe not, but, brothers got to deal with some health issues. Maybe it be high blood pressure, gout, whatever it is, diabetes. My father has diabetes type 2. Okay. Salakia. I do not mean to yawn this much. But this is Revelation chapter 5. Salakia, verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Right, the Lord isn't going to forget the iniquities that Babylon the Great has made. Okay, Babylon the Great has done iniquity beyond belief. This place has polluted our women. Okay, this place, and the reason we talk about women so much is because, Jake loved their woman, man. Jake loved their woman, but in a place like this, man, it's hard. You're not gonna find a righteous woman like that. You're not gonna find a righteous woman like that. Okay, a woman that truly has reverence towards you, because this place done destroyed our women, our people as a whole. Okay, and some brothers are lucky enough to, have, women aren't gonna be perfect. We know they're the weaker vessel. Okay, women aren't gonna be perfect. Okay. For instance, a lot of women give in under pressure. A lot of women give in under pressure. Okay, a lot of women don't have the ability to say no. A lot of women care too much about other men's feelings rather than your own feelings. But I'm not gonna give you advice on your own relationship, man. That's between you. You and your woman, or you and the Lord. That's between you three. Okay? But if you're pleased to deal with her, she feels remorseful, and she vows not to do it again, and you command her not to do it again, you do what you gotta do, man. Like I said, I'm not no damn relationship guidance counselor. Okay? I'm just telling you, scriptures, man. But right, the reason we talk about, these things so much, these women, our bodies, because we're going through hell every day, man. We're going through hell every single day. Every single day. Every single day. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her cup. It's like it. And double unto her, double according to her works, right? According to the works of Babylon. Okay, you think the Lord don't see that Babylon done fucked up our people, done fucked with their heads, fucked up with our heads, man? You know, that's what you got. You know, and you come down here, you know, your bodies are plagued as well. You know, that's where you got those weird thoughts. Okay, that's what you're overthinking. You know, you overthink. You're like, fuck. You know, that's another demon. Hey, that also relates to the woman. You know, you got another demon. You constantly overthinking. Fuck, what my woman doing now? You know, what's she doing now? You know, because you can't trust. You know, it's very hard as a man. It's very hard to trust. Okay. You know, and that's where you got them weird thoughts in your head. And when you wake up, you're still fucking tired. You know, that's where you get sick. You can, man, that's crazy. You can be eating healthy and you still get sick. Only in Babylon would that happen to you. Okay? It says, in the cup which she had filled, fill to her double. Right. And that's what the Lord is gonna do. The Lord is gonna fill to Babylon and these Edomites double what they filled unto us. Okay? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Chapter 7. How much she glorified herself and lived deliciously. Right, Babylon has lived deliciously this entire time. While we're going through hell, we're going through it. Babylon has been living deliciously. It says, so much torment and sorrow give her. Right, because Babylon is deserving of it. Babylon is deserving of so much torment and sorrow. Okay? For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? Babylon don't think that they're gonna ever see a downfall. You think Babylon really thinks that they're ever gonna see a downfall, man? No, Babylon believes truly in their mind. Babylon don't think they're gonna fall. You know, Babylon don't think they're gonna fall. Babylon thinks they're gonna just rule forever. You know, and these other nations think they're gonna rule next. You know, Moab probably think they're gonna rule next. You know, every other nation here is winning, but our nation, the nation of Israel. Okay, why is that? Why are the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans always on the low, always down? You know, why are we always in the lower? Why are we always in the low class or lower middle class? Why is it always us? Why is Moab so many Moab? Okay, why every other nation you always see them in a rich house, you know, big old house. Okay, you know, I'm a carpenter, so I'll be going to these big old houses, man, and it's usually Moab. You know, it's usually Moab in these gigantic houses. You know, these beautiful homes. These beautiful homes. You know? But it can't be us, though. Because we went off against the Lord. You know, we didn't give reverence towards the Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay, we went off against him. We didn't do what the Lord asked of us to do. We didn't want to do what the Lord asked of us to do. But now we're coming back. You know, now we're coming back, and through all this hell, we're still doing what we can as best as we can for the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. And he's going to come back and he's going to do what he got to do for us. When he comes back, that's why we're constantly preaching that the day of the Lord should come tomorrow, man. We don't want another day in this hell, bro. You know, every single day you wake up, you're like, fuck. You know, why can't the Lord just come? You know, you want the Lord to just come right now. You know? Why can't the Lord just come right now, man? You know, but hey, the Lord is the creator of time itself. The Lord knows ultimately what's the best time, you know. Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Death and mourning and famine shall be utterly burned with slag, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. Right, what is that fire? That's that thermal nuke destruction. Them nukes. The hell? Tell you. Right, them thermal nukes. Okay? That's what's coming to America. Thermonuclear destruction. Why is that so? I just read it to you. America's deserving of it. You think these other nations aren't tired of Babylon the Great? You think these other nations aren't kicking their feet? Kicking their feet in the sand, wishing one day they can just nuke this place? Man, this place is fucking hated, bro. You truly don't understand how hated this place is. Okay? You so-called Americans, okay, because we're so-called Americans, we live in Babylon. You would be called a so-called American. Okay? Americans would, you truly don't understand how hated you really are from these other nations. Okay, these other nations will mock you, they'll scoff you, man. When you go out and visit, and when they come and visit, they'll show you. Okay, it says, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord, Yahweh power, who judges her. Right, ultimately it's going to be the Lord that judges them. Ultimately it's going to be the Lord that judges Babylon the Great, man. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her. Right, these other nations, once they destroy them, they're going to know what they just did. They just destroyed their whore, but they can just pop and dip. They just destroyed their whore, They don't realize what they just did. But, once it's over, they're going to be like, where's our money going to come from now? And lament for her, for they shall see the smoke of her burning. Right, they're going to see how brutal, this place has become. All right, you're going to see chariots flying all over the place, man. It's going to be a spiritual day. Man, that day is going to be spiritual, man. You're going to see chariots all over the place, beaming brothers up, going to the right, beaming shit down, causing havoc. And ultimately, you're going to see the big mother chariot, man. Imagine the whole sky. The whole sky, all that is going to be filled with the chariot. One single chariot. It's going to be beautiful, man. It's going to be a beautiful day. Lord willing, I get beamed up into those chariots, man. Lord willing. It says, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, the great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Right. And the Babylon's judgment comes in a single hour, man. A single hour. That was a fire. That ain't no fire. I think it's just water. Yeah, it's just the sprinklers. Right. Babylon's destruction is gonna come in 1 hour, man. Babylon's gonna be destroyed in a single hour. Okay. All these generations, all this time it took for Babylon to be established, all the time that Babylon has been established, all these Edomites, dark magic, or the high elites, all their dark magic. Now the helicopter want to be right there, right next to me. It don't matter. We almost done. We almost done anyways. And the merchant of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Right. No man is gonna buy the merchandise of Babylon the Great anymore. Okay. It says. I'm gonna jump down actually. Down to verse 16. And alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and the company in ships and sailors, and as many as traded by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this city, great city? Right? They're gonna be like, what other nation is gonna buy this much? It's lucky for the noise, Akim. I can't really control that. You want to be right over me though. I tell you, man. It's all good though. We're almost done anyways. Right, they're gonna be, what other city was like unto the city of Babylon, man? What other city? Okay. And I'll close off on here, man. That helicopter loud as hell. Verse 19, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Right. The Lord is constantly making it apparent that this place is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. And actually, I'll close on in verse 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostle and prophets, for Yahweh hath avenged you on her. Right, the Lord had avenged us, man. The Lord hath just avenged us, man. So, you know, Salakia about the helicopter, man, is right over me. I can't really hear myself think, man. So, you know, that's gonna do it. You know, Lord willing was edifying. Lord willing was uplifting, man. You know, I just really wanted to go into that Revelation chapter 18, man. So, you know, we're almost home, Akim. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakurash. All right, double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations unto the elect. Keep pushing, Akim. Shalom.